Hi, Misha here, and I wouldn't exactly say this is a white whale of mine, but it is a gun I have been on the lookout for 5 or 6 years. This is a Chinese, well, it's a 56S-2, at least it would have been later. Early on, it was just marked AKS, which was kind of the early name. 7.62 by 39 AK type gun. And one thing that made it kind of hard for me to find the one I wanted, most you run across, at least around here, tend to be the Polytech variant. And I really wanted a Norinco. I'll explain why later on, but suffice it to say that I figured if I'm going to spend this kind of money for an AK, I might as well get the one I wanted. So I just held out for the gun I wanted at the price I was willing to pay. And what makes this gun unique is we have this folding stock. You just pull it out. It's actually very tight, with just very minimal wiggle. It has a very large checkered button on the top, very easy to press to fold. And it has this synthetic furniture, colloquially known as Bakelite. Standard 16 1/4 inch cold hammer forged chrome lined barrel, 14mm threads with removable sugar scoop, bayonet lug, cleaning rod, standard AK, or I should say Chinese 1.5mm stamped receiver, blued finish. The only thing, unfortunately, I don't have a Chinese 66 Bakelite mag in it. I have a Russian right now. And of course, many of these would have just been with the standard Chinese mag. But yeah, I've waited a long time to grab one of these. So with that, let's just take her out to the range and run a few rounds through it. 56-2. Now Jay with the 56-2.
Clear.
We go easy with pre-bans around here. I thought we would use the Chinese clip guide, see how we did here. Maybe. I always had kind of questions about how well these worked. Not great.
No, they work great. It's just you're doing it wrong.
No, that's a given, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one. Let's try to do one more here. I believe these are just standard SKS. Yeah, they are also used.
No, you're just doing it wrong. That
Sure.
doesn't make a difference.
Not at all. There we go.
I loaded 50 of these yesterday, and I didn't seem to have a single problem with any one of them.
And you're going
I
to
know how
show
to
them
do it
shooting
right.
all 50, right?
Nope.
This is how much he cares.
That's
folks.
not how the internet works.
I got 19 out of 20, not bad. 56-2. So she shoots like any other really Chinese pre-ban AK. That's not really its feature set. The reason I wanted one of these, there was a couple. For one, it's kind of the last of the military-derived Chinese AKs. For the standard 56, I have my fixed woodstock spiker. For a 56-1 clone, I have my underfolder. And they developed the 56-2 in the 1970s. Now, development was delayed because of social upheaval in China. You see that a lot with all kinds of product, products, programs, what have you, including with aircraft and so on. So the 56-2, which is to be a modernization, kind of akin to the AKM in a way, at least in spirit, to the Type 56, it was delayed so long that it ended up being eclipsed by a whole new design known as the Type 81. Now, unfortunately, there aren't really any semi-auto Type 81s in the USA. There may be a handful. There are some up in Canada, though. So by the time the company, and these were kind of developed under the Norinco brand name, even though we all have several different factories. By the time it was ready, they had moved on. But they had worked on it, and so while the Chinese People's Liberation Army, PLA, only purchased these in very limited number, the Chinese police and border guards did purchase these in large numbers, and it was actually a very popular export. There were several smaller nations that bought these, including like India, Vietnam acquired some, Sri Lanka acquired some, and quite interestingly, Finland acquired 100,000 of these, designating them as the RK56TP for folding stock. So they did receive quite a bit of export, and these were designed for military, whereas a lot of the more interesting configurations from the 1980s were actually just done for the US market. For example, the so-called Galil folder. And some argue the double folder, some say no. But yeah, let's look at it from the one end to the other. We have a standard 14mm thread here with a sugar scoop. Now, a lot of the Polytechs I've run across, the Polytech branded ones, so imported from KFS, have a muzzle nut. But the Norinco ones, which are imported by several companies, have the sugar scoop. It has a bayonet lug. With the Polytechs, they all seem to be the Type 1 lug here. But with the Norincos, it seems like it's about half and half. The early ones like this have the Type 1 lug, but some of the later ones imported, I believe Sile did some, they have the AKM style here. Otherwise, it's pretty standard. Till we get to the handguards, which are the same shape as the wood ones, with one exception. We have vent cuts in the top as well as the bottom now. But now they're made out of the synthetic fiberglass material, often referred to as Bakelite, very similar to early imports like Clayco. One reason I always like the Norinco style, it has this pistol grip here. I've always kind of thought of this as a VZ58 style. The way it's swept back, it's a little smaller, but it's also a little more ergonomic, and I find the sweep attractive and frankly more comfortable. Also, the Polytechs had enhanced controls, meaning they had the oversized safety and oversized mag catch. I kind of like the more straightforward styling of the Norinco pattern. And also, the Polytechs had a higher polished blued finish, whereas the Norincos just have kind of the military, almost matte blue. I just find it more attractive, a little more military looking, and also that doesn't seem to corrode and rust and show fingerprints quite like the Polytechs. Again, this is just my opinion. And of course, we get to the folding stock, which I've already shown you the hinge. This little cutout here is for the selector. This is all metal, including the metal butt plate. It is relatively short, very much Warsaw length, but I don't know, doesn't bug me. And then of course we have this Bakelite panel here, and as many of you know, it has a hidden compartment inside for a cleaning kit. Let me find my right spot there. Just there's a tiny little hole, and you'll need a bullet tip or something equivalent. It's hard to do one-handed with no eyes. Not the best design, but kind of neat. I guess that's when you need your cleaning kit in a hurry, because as you saw, it really shoots out. But it's kind of a little metal bracket with basic jag and pull through in there. Pretty simple, but it goes with your cleaning rod under your barrel. and pretty much takes the place of the typical pellet we're used to in most AK buttstocks. A unique feature. And so if you're looking for one of these, make sure, and most of them still seem to have it in here because it's very securely retained. But definitely make sure that's in there because it's, I don't know where you get a replacement for it. And that's pretty much what it is. It wasn't a revolutionary step forward for the Type 56, just more modern, more durable, easier to produce furniture, and a very practical folding stock. Easy to deploy and take in. It doesn't really have much of a lug sticking out the back. But of course you are pretty much stuck with the stock. There's no switching it out. But yeah, I was looking for a Norinco type just because I like its features more than the Polytech. Plus it was developed under the auspices of Norinco brand, so why not? This one is a B West import, which the B West guns have a dubious reputation because of what came later in the 90s. B West tried using some kits and making their own receivers to build them, and they were really bad US receivers. So that kind of tainted Chinese B West guns, much as the Misr 90s have tainted the Egyptian guns to some extent. But B West was one of the earliest Chinese importers, bringing them in by 1985, maybe late 84. And so for their imports, which will be marked China or made in China, they're absolutely equal to everything else that was coming in at that time, even the early KFS guns. So really, you can sometimes find a very good deal for a B West marked gun. Just make sure you know it's a true import, and it's pretty easy to tell if you know what you're looking at. Serial number, and again, saying made in China on the receiver, not having the US markings, and just the overall quality. You should be able to kind of tell. But sometimes you can get a better deal on one of these versus maybe a more widely known import, because that's how the Chinese market is. A lot of it has to do with name recognition and just how many people are after it. But I knew what I wanted to pay for one of these. Sometimes they go for $3,000 and up online, and that's, in my opinion, too much, even for a rarer one. But this is another New York refugee that I picked up off of a dealer up there, and the reason I knew the dealer had this was actually thanks to one of our supporters on here. I won't name drop just in case he wants to remain anonymous, but if you want to out yourself in the comments, we will flag it and link you at the top so people know. I really do appreciate it, because this was one I have been wanting for a good long time, because in my mind this really does complete the set. Now I've got a fixed stock with a spike bayonet, an underfolding stock, and now a side folder that takes a detaching bayonet with the cool synthetic furniture. And it's a very uniquely Chinese gun. For more on Chinese guns, we have previous videos, and we will have more of a collection overview coming up sometime in the season, going into more detail about the preban imports and the military guns. So you can hopefully look forward to that. But I just wanted to do kind of a review of this particular gun here. Also, if anyone has a Chinese 66 Bakelite mag, or two, I'd like to have two to fill at least a small pouch, hit me up, and we'll see if we can work out a trade or something. But other than that, I'm very pleased with it and the service I've received from the gentleman I got it from. So I don't know if the dealer I got it from actually follows YouTube. If he does, I do appreciate it. If not, well, I still appreciate it. If you have any questions or would like to share your own Chinese guns in the comments below, I know a lot of you have these. They're really more common than you might think. We'd love to talk about it. And if you'd like to help support the channel, please check out the link to our Patreon page. This is Misha, and we will catch you very soon next time.